Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to Ukrainian Media Crisis Ukraine Media Center and our briefing about the reforms in Ukraine. Today we have a briefing on novelties and legislation, tax and legislation, and since September 1st, 2014, there is a new system was introduced on VAT. VAT. There were bigger discussions whether it made sense to introduce that system. And one of the main tasks is to make the system automatic and also to overcome different cheating schemes in administration of VAT. And we'll try to cover briefly this how the system started to work since July 1st, and it's working for 10 days almost. And I will look to invite Nasirov, head of the state fiscal service, to tell you about this issue. Good afternoon, everyone. And as we know, the system of electronic administration of VAT was introduced gradually last December. Since February to July, it was in test mode, and since July, it was supposed to work in regular mode. To support the system, we had to pass all the necessary legislation, and also we had to do education to taxpayers and to state fiscal service. We developed all necessary software during the test mode, and so the software was improved and for non-stop functioning since July. Since on July 1st, the system of electronic administration of VAT started to work in a regular mode. The system of electronic administration works in 24/7, 365 days a year. This system in a regular mode doesn't take money, run money, and that's why in the code takes in as VAT through registration, for some indexes for overdraft, for example, average tax declared and covered by pay during the previous 12 months. Larger residential size, it happened for 7.8 billion hryvnia for 160,000 taxpayers. The test period and the registration sum went up because of the minus notion before February, and it was happening during test period, and also it can be done in the future if there is if clients have such a negative notion for the registration sum. For the sum to the budget on July 1st, 2015, enlargement of registration sum because of such index. It happened automatically on July 8 for 2.5 billion hryvnia. And for 147,000 taxpayers. So taking away this money doesn't exist, and I would like to inform that in 8 days of work, the system of electronic administration of VAT, we have more than 4 million tax documents and corrective for almost 14 billion hryvnia. For VAT, 3.2 billion registered documents, and for operations for more than 2 billion hryvnia. In such a way, I believe that the system is working in regular mode without any failure. There are some details and there are some improvements we'd like to suggest, and they were already in the draft law 173A, and my colleague will tell you about that in more details. Thank you. It was expected that the system should simplify the turnover and should stop cheating schemes. Do you see it really? How does it allow you control? How to fight those tax gaps during the last 2 months before July 1st? We, in different ways, different modes, we stopped to register fictitious loans more than 10 billion hryvnia. Now, electronic system will do that for us, which is shows quite clearly taxpayers, state fiscal source, and so money move electronically, automatically. This is something we're trying to reach as Ukraine, to achieve that. We would like to take out the human factor, and that's on all European countries are working on that. And we had this problem much bigger than in other countries, and it exists, but not to that size. Because 2, 3, or 5 billion hryvnia from efforts to put a fake loan. Those are the sums which don't allow Ukrainian business to function normal, which create a non-correct competition. That money is just taken from Ukrainian budget. So the system now helps, as I will tell you, to function, help the state to function, and it helps to correct tax players, decent. And we have a person who will answer your questions also. Maybe you can tell us in details what it is about, what the corrections should be in legislation, what can be changed. I would like her to pay attention to the difference between test mode and regular mode. And it is different because when you register tax documents into the register on the national level, there is a compare the NAM in the document with that registration, some for which taxpayers have the right to register tax documents that is calculated automatically without any human interference or any human factor, and payers and tax inspection cannot somehow touch that sum. That is one of the main differences. That rule provides and that stops tax gaps. And during this creation of this system, together with the Ministry of Finances, we had a lot of works and meetings with business, with NGOs, with MPs, and how to improve the system of VAT in the regular mode. And all that proposals were formalized, and now they are registered in 2073A document, which was mentioned already. What are the main points? And first of all, for agriculture producer who pays a special regime of VAT, and this suggested in this draft law to speed up receiving money they can use for their industrial purposes from electronic accounts, for the special accounts from which they can pay for goods, works and services that are necessary for their industrial needs. For that, we suggest to open electronic accounts for such subjects of business and such business, and then during operational day, that money will come to those special accounts, and the money will come quicker, and they can be used for agriculture producers, and such money can can be after you provide a declaration. Next point, the proposal, how to simplify documents and how to cancel those documents which are not needed after we have the system of VAT, electronic administration, like a place, a location of the taxpayer contract, and that will simplify those tax documents, and that will take less time to fill those tax documents. The next proposal, the system of electronic administration of VAT gives a chance to buyers to whom they have registered document to send a request to us and to get a copy of tax documents which are registered in the register. The draft law says that on the basis of such documents they can show the tax loan. Next issue is related to
very important issue is about decreasing the number of tax pay slips that are formed by the enterprises that continue to deliver services and commodities, not every time to provide those payments, those tax pay slips, but just form the one which is formed on the last day of the reporting month, which will provide an opportunity to those enterprises that supply water, gas, electricity, communication services, internet services to provide just one tax pay slip, and this in turn on the one hand will decrease the number of such pay slips. On the other hand, this will save time, and of course this leads to the fact that this document can be registered within 15 days of the date of the submittance of this pay slip, and then this will be happening later than today. The next very important thing in this draft law is connected to the provision of the opportunity to those who were mistaken and then their registration sum is in a negative meaning, and this is about those taxpayers who have paid VAT at customs office and instead of paying through the way that was provided for by the tax code, they were paying directly into the budget, and that's why their registration sum has a different negative meaning, and they want to make this sum nil and to increase the sum by a correct measure, and the registered sum is suggested to be increased by the sum of an overdraft, which is the average monthly size of the declared VAT, and it's been paid for the previous 12 months, and then these are the payables that were not paid, and also the money that is being provided for by their tax declaration, and also the sum of real money that they have, and it's in the electronic account that they have at the treasury. This will allow to rectify the mistakes that were made by the taxpayers, and this will also allow to spend less money for the work in this system. And another suggestion is about the continuation of the term of registration of tax declarations for 3 months over the time after this law comes into force. For instance, the tax pay slips from the 1st to 15th day of the month can be registered until the 30th day of this month. And those that were formed within the 16th to 30th day can be registered from the 1st to the 15th day of the next month, which will provide for more time to register these documents, and then they will be able to increase to pay money into their accounts during later periods than is provided for now. Also about those enterprises that have branches, and such affiliates and branches have now the right to be taxpayers, and they can form their own tax paying in order for this to be more convenient as far as the affiliates and branches are concerned. So by the addition of the special code, they can do this, and then a special selection can be made so that all the amounts of pay slips can be used. And this was the proposal by the business that was supported by the State Fiscal Service and the Ministry of Finance. So all these proposals are collected on the basis of the suggestions that taxpayers made as far as the optimization of paying the taxes concerned. And this is all about those suggestions that were there were working groups on the basis of the Ministry of Finance, and a broad circle of taxpayers was involved, including medium size and big size, and those they were able to say what their suggestions were as far as the electronic payment is concerned. And the circle was even broader. At the Ministry of Finance, we listened to all the suggestions. We arrived at a common constructive point, and then everything was introduced into this draft law. As far as we know, the draft law is still not composed, but it doesn't preclude the enterprises from working, and this does not essentially influence the payments. At the moment, the system works in a special regime, in a full regime, according to the tax code that's been in action since the 1st of January, and everyone knows how it will work in its full-scale version. And now we have first launched it in a test regime and then in a full-scale regime, and Roman was talking about the number of tax pay slips that was registered during the first 8 days of the work of this system in the test regime. There's a lot of additional services so that the taxpayers have all the necessary information about the work in this system, and everything that is linked to the work of this system. As far as the improvement of this system is concerned, after this law is adopted, then this system can be improved at any moment, and we will be able to improve this system both at the level of normative provision and on the software level, and we can explain this as well to those who need it. Any other questions? I'd like to know, you know, the business said that while the money is being accumulated, they are losing money before they submit their tax pay slips. So how this works now? Thank you for your question. I can tell you about this with the figures, and I'd like to tell you about what the budget compensation of VAT is. As you know, everything has to be planned in our country, and we're talking about the state budget for this year now, and every month, in order to get VAT for the budget as a receivable, there are certain indicators that have to be achieved. These are the limits that have to be there. You can only introduce certain amendments into taxation legislation about the automatic budgetary compensation of VAT, taking into account that the criteria have been changed compared to the last year. The automated compensation of VAT is accounts for 75% of VAT payers, while last year only half of them did this. Besides, we can say that the process of compensation for VAT is a month shorter than this was last year. Microphone. Hypothetically, yes, it can arise because the compensation of VAT may be affected within the limits of the expenditure that's been adopted in the budget, and probably we should review these indicators to increase them. We have a very tight schedule, and I suggest that you ask your other questions later. Thank you for joining our briefing, and we're talking here about administering the taxes, which is one of the major issues of the reforming of the taxation system of the country. So this is a good example of how democratic this system is becoming. However, the dialogue is still needed, and we are looking to continue this, and independently on how the implementation of these norms takes place.